Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nerdy 430, the podcast where my buddy Tim and I talk about nerdy things we have seen lately. My name is Kevin Bauer, and joining us again for this episode is our very special guest. She's an artist, she's an animator, she's a newbie to the world of Power Rangers, Miss Lauren Moore. Lauren, how you doing?
Hi, doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Today we are talking about Power Rangers from the year 2017. This is not Mighty Morphin Power Rangers from 1995. This is not Power Rangers Turbo. This is Saban's Power Rangers. Very egotistically named after Haim Saban from 2017.
Is it Saban or Saban? Because I've always thought it was Saban. I guess it doesn't matter, but you've been saying it so much that now I'm self-conscious about this. Saban, Saban. They lost the Mighty Morphing. I was very confident
that it was Saban, and now I'm not confident at all.
I said Saban too, Tim, when I was reading it off the screen, and then Kevin very confidently came in and was like, Saban, and I was like, okay, guess I'm wrong. I stand corrected.
Saban's Power Rangers. I wish they were Mighty Morphing still. They definitely lack the fun of the Mighty Morphin part, but still a great movie. I had fun watching this. It's okay.
I would definitely say okay. Okay is the operative word for me. I think right off the bat, the fact that it's not called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers means that it's not coming into a Power Rangers movie with the energy that I want from a Power Rangers movie.
Lauren, fresh face to the Power Ranger world. What do you think the biggest difference is between like this and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which we just talked about on Monday? What's the difference between these two movies? Is this a good vibe? I know it's different. Like, what are your thoughts?
I don't like the vibe. I instantly, it lost all of the charm. The biggest difference is that it's not still in the 90s. And it really lacks for that, in my opinion. I felt like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers had this beautiful 90s charm. It was like a lot of what I loved about it. And not just from a nostalgia factor, like it was retroactively like, if I had watched it in the 90s, like it was just a nice feeling, a nice vibe. And then this was really taking itself so seriously in a way that just really turned me off.
I agree 100%. This movie made complete sense to me watching this, right? Like, isn't this how reboots are done nowadays, where they're just like, it's a little too serious and like, oh, they can't be like Goody Two Shoes doing charity events and skateboarding together, because that's not real. They have to be like in detention. How do we make the Power Rangers like hip and cool? Oh, this time they're bad guys, because like being good isn't cool anymore. You know, it just seems, and that the lack of like corniness makes it, I think, exposes some other flaws in this, right? Like in the first movie, we only flush out two characters, like Tommy and Kimberly. And in this movie, there's no excuse for them to not flush out the other characters, but they also don't, you know?
Yes.
Like, I don't really know what the Yellow Ranger's deal is. She's like kind of there. I know she sang that song about the shower in real life, the actor did, but I don't know what her thing is. The Black Ranger, it's like, okay, cool, he's crazy, but like, I don't know.
He'll keep telling you.
he'll tell you how crazy he is.
I'm crazy.
So Lauren and I have talked about the tone a lot since we watched this, and I think we hit the nail on the head with what they were doing here, which obviously, The Breakfast Club was a huge touchstone for them in this. All of the character archetypes are mapped directly onto the characters from The Breakfast Club. This is them. My theory for the grittiness is that they wanted it to be like Transformers in 2007. So we determined that like, I think their touchstones for this movie where it's going to be like Transformers from 2007 plus The Breakfast Club. But the thing is, in The Breakfast Club, they do a pretty good job of introducing what all the characters' deals are with like one or two sentences at the very beginning of the movie. They're all getting dropped off for the Saturday detention, and you're seeing the cuts one after another of like what the family situation is like for each individual person. And you just get it. You get it from the get-go. In this, they spend significantly more time with each character, but it never feels completely locked in on what each person's deal is.
So much time with each character, but I don't feel like it's used well because I don't feel like I know them any better than I did at the beginning. So I don't know what they're doing.
It's a missed opportunity. The whole movie feels kind of like a missed opportunity. It feels like they had the bones for something that could have been really fun, and they just completely dropped the ball. Just in case you haven't seen it, I'll give you a brief overview of what the plot of the movie is. Basically, in the age of the dinosaurs, a great battle happened on Earth, and 5 sources of power were left in, I guess 6 sources of power were left deep within the Earth. In 2017, Pacific Northwest ? USA, teens hanging out at a quarry discover these sources of power and realize that they've been charged with becoming Power Rangers, which are galactic defenders that are protecting the source of all life on Earth, I guess, from this other ancient being that wants to destroy the source of all life on Earth, and who loves gold like Goldmember from Austin Powers. So they have 11 days to train up and defeat this thing and become more than just standard teens. They need to become Power Rangers, but it's not without some kind of dramatic internal struggles and struggles with a team dynamic as well.
It's God, even your description just like bored me so much more than like the first movie. It's just like it just sounds like a boring remake, you know? It's like I don't know. It definitely takes itself too seriously. I think your Transformers comparison is like very apt, but in that you really just have only 2 characters. You're not fleshing out a whole team. You're fleshing out Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox, and they're just like the voice of the audience with all this like awesome CGI stuff that, by the way, looks like the characters we know and love, which I think is going to be a huge beef for me when we get to the end. How the campiness is like what excites us about this, and when you neglect it, then why are we here? There's certain beats I want scratched from this.
And to piggyback off of that, I feel like they didn't really make up their mind on if they were fully going to leave that out or include it, because I feel like something that really frustrated me was Elizabeth Banks' character, Rita. She didn't fit the rest of the movie, but I don't think she did anything wrong because I liked it. She was playing a little bit more campy and a little bit more classic Power Rangers. From what little I've seen, it felt more like the classic villain from that sort of thing. But then paired with this like serious, like, I don't know. I don't even want to say gritty because it's not gritty. It's just this serious like tone that it's like, we're not just like teenagers who got these powers. Let's go. It's like, but where did these come from? Deep in the earth and space and like it's just it's too much. And I wish that the rest of the movie either fit what Elizabeth Banks was doing, or if they didn't have her doing like they clashed with each other, I thought.
Right. They don't share a lot of screen time, and it's clear that Elizabeth Banks is off recording by herself somewhere, like being filmed. Her scenes are being shot completely independent of like what the Power Rangers are doing, and she's just like going for what she thinks is happening, and then they just never. You're right. They don't mix at all. And starting out in space with Zordon and Rita like fighting, I kind of really liked that, but I don't know. It doesn't follow through in the way I want it to, but it made sense to me in the form of like a modern reboot. Like you're making Zordon a warrior. You're making Rita like a fighter who was the Green Ranger, who we know that's how like Tommy gets introduced, is like, then she corrupts Tommy. So it like feeds into the lore in a way that's familiar, but is like unique enough. I kind of dug it. And then, yeah, the Breakfast Club vibe without the Breakfast Club. Simple rewrite for this whole thing. Maybe that can go on our Rewritables podcast. But why don't they all just meet in detention? Can't we do that? Then you see how each person gets into detention. Just show us somebody skipping school, getting caught. Show us somebody acting bad. Show us somebody doing the right thing, but still getting punished for it. And then throw them all in detention together. And now we have our Power Rangers. Now we have a reason for them to all be at this quarry together, which why the fuck are they all hanging out at this quarry independently of each other?
And it takes so long. It's like we spend so much time trying to understand Jason, which is the most boring non-backstory, but we've got to put a lot of time into it because he's the main character, I guess, but he's not even really. And then like we slowly pour in the other ones. They trickle in. And I feel like I don't know if I missed something. I could be wrong, but the Yellow Ranger specifically, I felt like I never saw her voice the like first 4 times she was around. And I was just like, what is she? She's girl. Right now, she's just girl. And I want to see who she is. And it's like, she's so moody and she's like off in the distance. And it's like, if she walked by the screen in a new shot, I wouldn't know it was her. Like, I don't know who she is.
I thought she was Kimberly. I thought she was Kimberly the first time because you see her doing yoga and they have the same hair length now, which they went out of their way to like show Kimberly's rebelling now. She cut her hair short. And I'm like, from the back, this looks like the same person. You know, they're not wearing their cool, distinctive colors. You know, they all look the same to me. You know, they all just look like whatever high school kids.
They're kind of doing like a faux gritty version of all the colors. So it's like nobody's allowed in this movie to like very boldly wear a color. It has to be a subtle thing. Like there was a time where Billy was wearing a shirt with like a bear with boxing gloves on, and the boxing gloves were blue for the Blue Ranger. Like it fits that like, that faux gritty realism that it's like distressed jeans when you go to American Eagle and all the jeans have the same exact hole in the same exact place. That's this movie.
Even the bear, like a bear t-shirt, I was like looking at their clothes, looking for any semblance of a hint, like throw us a bone here, give us a reference or something like that. Aisha in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the Yellow Ranger becomes a bear. So why don't we see her wearing a bear shirt? Why is the Blue Ranger wearing a bear shirt? You know, like even if you see the Yellow Ranger with a bear, it's like, whoa, in the movie, she like becomes but there's none of that. There's no color coordination. I don't think the Red Ranger doesn't wear red ever. Even if like but if you joined the team and you knew you were going to be the Blue Ranger, wouldn't you just start rocking blue more? I would. I'd be rocking blue all the time. If I was assigned a color for my cool superhero team, I'd be repping that all the time. Why not? Just a fun little teaser. The movie also opens on Jason, the Red Ranger, stealing a truck. Well, they steal a car. There's a car chase, but it opens with like a masturbation joke, right? Like a joke about his friend jerking off a cow. And it's like, cool. That's so edgy.
Yeah, we really set the tone.
Oh, yeah. That kind of leads me right into my when did you know, which is when did you know that these weren't your typical Power Rangers? And for me, it's like right away when they're making jokes about jerking off a cow, I'm like, OK, this is a different vibe than the gang all jumping out of a plane together in parachutes in all their bright colors, like high-fiving and like for no reason holding hands while they're parachuting and then like separated. This is just like, you know, kind of a gritty reboot. And Kimberly has something with like a leaked nudes thing. Is that what's going on with Kimberly?
I hated that. Oh my gosh, I hated it so much. I hate that she's like, you know what? I went through this thing and I really learned my lesson, except for right now when I'm going to repeat it and show you. Like she's like saying how she's like, she's blacklisted because she showed this nude photo of a classmate and she's like breaking down and like being so real with Jason and telling him what happened. And the way she tells him is not like, I did this thing. It's not, you know, here it is. I don't want to repeat it, but like, here's the consequence. Instead, she just like throws her hand up with the phone and it's just like, look at this. And he's like, what? I feel like I shouldn't be looking at this. Like, and she's like, yeah, I sent it everywhere. And it's just like, stop.
There was in the trailer for this movie, there was a scene where Jason and Kimberly kiss and they're supposed to hook up right after this scene where she shows them the text, and it tested so poorly. Apparently, I read online it was immediately thumbs down from every single person that saw it, and they took it out.
Are you kidding?
Oh my god!
I'm so glad that that's not in it because
that's so insulting. It's so insulting to the characters that they would hook up. And also, that's Tommy's girl. So stay the fuck away, Jason. I don't want to see any Power Rangers lore that doesn't revolve around Kimberly and Tommy spending the rest of their lives together, truly happy.
So I got a when did you know that relates to Jason now that we're talking about Jason. When did you know that Jason was the leader of the team? Was it the first time that Zordon told him he was the leader of the team or the 12th time? I guess which of the 12 times really locked it in for you?
Still never, because nothing that he did told me that he should be a leader. Like, I still feel like Zordon was like, yes, Red, leader, it's you, because Red. Like, he did nothing to, like, is he even the captain of the football team, or was he? Like, I don't think he was. I think he was just a quarterback. Like, he did nothing to show us that he should be a leader other than be, like, a blue-eyed blonde straight white guy. Like, and I just was like, why him? But they kept telling us, and I still don't know.
100%. Only white guy on the team, plays football. This guy's clearly the leader. Even though when they're doing this like group bonding thing, Billy is clearly like the emotional point of this whole thing. And then I think the Black Ranger starts opening up. I think these are actually the original Rangers. So it's Zach and it's Billy. And Zach is the one who like starts opening up to the group, and Billy backs him up and supports him. And they actually try to grow. And the Red Ranger is just there, right? And then at the end, he gets a sword for no reason because he's the boss. It's purely gross Hollywood shit of like quarterback, white guy. He's the boss. Like, we don't need to do anything else to show his leadership.
It's so frustrating because immediately, this is a better story for both Jason and Billy. If you have, there's the scene where Billy dies. And then Zordon sacrifices his own chance to come back to life as more than a wall to save Billy's life. And immediately after that happens, Billy comes back to life, and Zordon reiterates to Jason, this is your team. You're the leader. Whole movie is so much better if you have Jason say, no, he's the leader, and point to Billy. You get the character growth of Jason, who has spent the entire movie saying, like, I don't know what to do. Every time I make a choice, it's the wrong choice. You get him realizing that abdicating that position is the best thing that he can do. And then for Billy, you have this character that never thought that he could be a leader, but who has been leading and inspiring the team the whole movie, realizing that this thing that he always thought was a weakness is a strength. It's super empowering. It'd be cool as hell to see. They just do nothing with it.
Even if they do that, and then that gesture is enough to show that the Red Ranger is the leader, I would buy into it more. Like, we need something from the Red Ranger to prove that he's the boss. I get in canon, it's like the Red Ranger was the leader of the team. And then Billy also is like on the spectrum. So maybe he's not the best to be making like leadership calls in the field or whatever. But I don't know. You're right. They hit the I don't know. They just make a decision because I don't know. You're right. I'm getting fired up about this now. It's so annoying.
It's crazy.
The Red Ranger sucks. He's the worst part of this.
He is.
It especially burns because he's so much fun in Stranger Things. Same actor. Oh my God. We spent the whole movie.
It's the guy from Stranger Things?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my God. Wow. When did I know? Now. God, and he was so good in Stranger Things, but he played an absolute douchebag in Stranger Things. Exactly. He was a terrible older brother, and all of a sudden he's being cast as like the leading man in this. It doesn't make any sense. He's got like a punchable, scummy face, doesn't he? Doesn't he kind of have like a dirtbag face, this guy? Like, something about him is like untrustworthy. Like, he vibes more for me as the Stranger Things character 100% than he does as the leader of the Power Rangers.
He gets you. I feel like there's a point in that where it's like you start to kind of like feel bad for him. And in this, like, I never sympathized with him. I never cared about him. I felt like we spent way too much time on him. And I just had so many question marks for the other characters. We got like tastes of it. Like at the very end, I really liked the scene for the Yellow Ranger where she's like in her room with her brothers. And they're like, their favorite is the Yellow Ranger. And they don't know that that's their sister. And like, that dynamic is so fun and so cool. And like that sort of thing, I want them to expand on for each of them, instead of focusing on like dumb bestiality jokes. Like, I don't know.
We got a fun moment like that for the Black Ranger too, that they never really followed up on, where like the Black Ranger spends his first few appearances in the movie saying like, I'm crazy. Like, oh, do you still go to Angel Grove High School? When I want to. And then we find out that the reason he's posturing this hard is because he has to take care of his sick mom. And like, it's his way of owning things in his life that are out of control. And it's like, oh my God, like there's something there. And again, they do fucking nothing with it.
It's brutal. It's brutal how many like things they start that they just completely ignore. Did anybody else have a when did you know? It feels like we've naturally just moved into beefs.
Yeah, I think I've got more beefs than anything.
Hit us with one left.
Oh, okay. Which one have I not already talked about? I guess with the costumes, we kind of talked about this, like the fear of like really embracing the colors. And I did get frustrated with that with Kimberly's character because it was like the Yellow Ranger, she would wear yellow t-shirts and it was pretty muted and it wasn't overstated. It was like pretty well done. And then we get to Kimberly and it's like they only show the pink in like her bras and tank tops. Like they can't figure out other ways to show pink. And that was really annoying to me. It's, I know, very nitpicky, but it was just like pink is a cool color. I felt like they were afraid to embrace the pink because they were like maybe afraid of being criticized as like, oh, the girl is pink. But there's nothing inherently wrong with that if it's not because she's a girl, it's pink. It's just like, I don't know, you can make, like, pink is a cool color. Like, embrace it. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's like they tried to hide it, but then they were like, oh, her sexy bra underneath is pink. I don't know. It was really annoying to me.
100%. Not campy enough. I think another good example of that is my biggest beef, maybe, which is the Megazord, which is, you know, we've talked about this before, like the each episode of the TV show culminates with them forming the Megazord, which is the 5 of them coming together as one unit to defeat the bad guy. And we all know the Megazord has like a finishing move, like a professional wrestler. And it's like, I'm going to take out my big sword and I'm going to slash him. And once that happens, the bad guy's dead. And like, that's the end of this thing. And it's so campy. And the Megazord always looks cool because it's like all these different swords. One's a lion, one's an elephant, and one's Triceratops or whatever. And they come together and you still see the heads on the Megazord and you can see the distinct parts and colors that like, oh, this is one thing now, but it's the combination of a bunch of different distinct entities that are combining together. I mean, it's like the metaphor for this is like perfect for children, right? Like the sum is greater than the individual parts. And what we get are like the Zords are like kind of cool and kind of distinct. I can't really tell what they are. And then somehow they all melt together in lava and become this one gray blob that CGI wise looks great, but also doesn't look like anything. I mean, if you saw this sight, like had no context for what this was, just looking at it, I'd have no idea what movie this was. It looks like what I imagine the Transformers look like before they copy a car. You know, they land on the planet and they're just like a weird, just a gray blob. And then they scan a Corvette and now they're cool. It's like they just became this boring blob. And it's like, yeah, why can't they be colorful? Why can't it be campy? I don't know. It'd be so much better.
That's the overall thing, is the lack of camp and the lack of like all the splendor that the 90s vibe brings to it. It's just like they're really trying to move away from that and be modern day. And I wish this movie still took place in the 90s and not in the way that Captain Marvel does, where it's like, here's a blockbuster and here's Alanis Morissette and here we are. It's the 90s. Like, I want it to be like fun and light but I get what they're trying to do, which is the opposite of that. But I'm just saying that I don't think it works for this.
It's so strange because I really think the tone that they're trying to do is they're trying to capitalize on this like Twilight teen drama. It really seems like they're trying to make this movie appeal to teenagers to make this a successful franchise. And I just think that's too big of an ask. I feel like the better strategy is you go fun 90s nostalgia piece and be fun, be campy, like get people on board that way, because this gritty shit it's not working for this movie at all.
Well, and in trying to specifically target teens, I feel like you can smell that. It's very, and it does the opposite. Because you're going to get things wrong when you're trying to so specifically. Like, I even feel like that cell phone thing, the sharing the picture thing that happened with Kimberly was like, I know it was a few years ago, so maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like it's been done so many times. And it's like the only card that adult writers have in their pockets to relate to teens. They're like, well, what is some modern teen drama? Smartphones, social media, sharing nudes. Like, that's like the farthest they can go. And it's like, it goes so much deeper than that. And it just, it misses on every level, I think.
There's a scene with Kimberly in the bathroom where she's confronted by two of her former friends.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
They take out scissors and physically cut her out of a photo of them. And then she, in an act of aggression I haven't seen anywhere ever, just takes scissors and stabs it into the wall next to the mirror. Like, we are done. You are cut out. This is over. It's so aggressive and intimidating. And then Kimberly takes the scissors out of the wall and cuts her hair. And then it's like, oh yeah, Kimberly's the bad guy here. It's just like so much. But I was also thinking, like, right, does it need to be nudes? Like, that's also what kids do, right? Like, I remember being in high school or middle school or whatever, and it's just like, oh, I'm not friends with them anymore. They insert dumb reason why we're not friends. You know, like, that's what kids do. Kimberly could have turned them in for something. She could have.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things she could have done. She could have just grown distant from them. She could have been working on something else. She left the cheer team, so now they're turning their back on her. Like, there's a million
spread a
simpler
rumor,
reasons.
whatever. Yeah. I just feel like that's become a modern trope of, like, the biggest teen drama can get is sharing nudes. And it's like, can we do something else, please?
Ugh.
I got another beef. This kind of piggybacks off what Tim was saying about the Megazord. Nothing in this movie is easy to draw. Power Rangers were on when I was like 4 and 5 years old. I could draw all of the Power Rangers. I could draw the Megazord. It wasn't great, but I knew what the shapes were and I could draw it easily. Nothing in this movie, if you're a kid watching this, is easy to recreate with crayons. Everything is way too complicated and fucking weird. The suits look like bowling balls. The texture on all of these Power Ranger suits look exactly like different weights of bowling balls. Just everything looks like total shit.
You're right. Like, what does the coloring book for this look like? You know, like, Transformers came out with these movies that are like new and gritty. I mean, we should do Transformers on this pod for sure. But,
Absolutely.
Transformers came out with this stuff that was like new and gritty and like modern. And they're still selling merch. They're still selling like Bumblebee action figures and Transformer coloring books because the colors are so bright and the eyes are so big and there's just distinctive features about them in a way that there's nothing distinctive about these guys at all. That's super interesting looking at it from a drawing perspective. I have another beef. The humans in this don't fight as humans ever, which is always one of the charming things of the TV show. Is like, putties would show up and every time they would try and fight them as human beings first, and then they would have no choice but to morph. And then they beat that bad guy, and then they have no choice but to call their Zords. And it happened every time. And that happened in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, where first the humans are kicking, and they're like action stars, man. These are like real gymnasts. They're doing flips. The actors in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers are so cool and so good at all this stuff. For some reason, the most efficient way to get away from a bad guy is just to do 8 backflips until you can join up with all the other people backflipping to your location. And in this movie, they're just training. They train and they train and they train, and then they get armor, and now they're superheroes because they have armor. And I don't know, it's not as campy and fun as like just a regular person fighting like a putty space monster, you know?
For sure. I guess they do try to, like, at one point in the movie they try to ambush Rita when she's at the docks, and they grab like bricks and pipes. They have street fighting, like, beat down weapons with them, and they try to ambush this woman in an abandoned dock. Not heroic. All the Power Rangers in this movie seem like people that the original Power Rangers would try to stop.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
The fighting too, it's like they're picking up all these weapons. They could have done something that mirrored the Power Ranger weapons, right? Like, they could have mirrored a sword with something. I think they had, like, Kimberly had a bow. I don't know if they should actually have a bow in this, but Zach had an axe, and it's like, you don't have anything that looks like an axe that you can, like, give this guy to, like, just a nod, like, just nod to some of this stuff. But okay, what's your last beef?
My last beef is they have little hints in this movie. Maybe they're left over from an earlier draft, that the colors of the Rangers directly correspond to some sort of attributes about the Ranger themselves and the person that was selected. Is what Zordon is stuck on with this whole Red Ranger leader thing. There's something, we see the Yellow Ranger get killed in the ancient days in the very beginning of the movie, And then Rita like talks shit on the current Yellow Ranger and like makes some suggestions that like you're the Yellow Ranger, so XYZ is true about you. I think that's kind of cool. I would have liked to see that defined more and like see that play into the characters' unique personalities.
Yeah. I mean, initially it was just like, oh, cool. Here's a black guy. Let's put him in the black costume, you know, like on the TV show. So I think it's good that they're a little wary of that now because, you know, that's a little transparent. But you're right. Like what distinct personality traits go with each one? That's another easy way to flesh out the characters, you know?
Oh my God, you map something onto one of the characters and the character doesn't feel like that's true about themselves. And they have to realize that they were selected to be this color ranger because that is true about them. Look, we're talking easy points. We're leaving points on the board here.
We could rewrite this movie and make it 10 times better.
Absolutely.
Instantly. I think we already have. Let's go to thieves. Does anybody have any thieves? What stole the show for you? I will start. I got a good one. Billy stole the show for me.
That's mine.
I love the actor. I don't know why I've never seen him before. Maybe I have. Maybe he's been in Stranger Things this whole time. I thought the actor was great. His whole deal, being on the spectrum's cool. Him being smart's cool. Just everything about him, his personality. He's like the fun guy. He's got jokes. He's just some honest levity in a movie that has none. He stole the show for me every time.
God, he is what works about this movie. Mm-hmm. Like, strip everything else away, build it back around this guy.
Agreed.
And it's so funny to me that for some reason he's the most interesting one when in Billy's kind of the punching bag in a lot of this stuff too. He's just always kind of like the nerd. And somehow in this, he's just clearly the character with the most depth there, it seems like. But
and the one I most want to hang out with.
Yeah. Oh man, that scene of him bragging to everybody at lunch where he just comes back, that dude hurts himself headbutting him. And then at lunch, he's surrounded by people. And he's like, yeah, I told him to stop. And then he's like making up this story about it. And then Kimberly comes over and they're all like, you know, Kimberly Hart. He's like, yeah, I know Kimberly Hart. And then like walks away and gets scolded by her. He's just the best. Without a doubt, he's the best part of this for me.
Absolutely.
Are there any other thieves?
He was mine also.
I have another thief. There's a scene that I feel like is from a different version of this movie that is left in that, again, if you strip everything else away and you kind of build it around this energy, the movie is way better. They reveal, so Rita Repulsa is looking for this Zeo crystal that is the source of all life on Earth. It's suggested that one of the Power Rangers knows where it is, and so she's interrogating them to find out where it is. And Billy reveals that the Zeo crystal is under a Krispy Kreme. And so we have like a genuinely funny moment where this like, I don't know, extraterrestrial ancient being is like Krispy Kreme. And it's tropey. Like we've seen similar things played out, but this is honestly one of the better versions of that bit that I've ever seen. It's completely out of pace with the rest of the movie. Like it does not fit with anything we've seen, but it has echoes of like what made the original Ghostbusters movie fun with Mr. Stay Puft, where we have this extra dimensional being that's copying what it doesn't know is like a marketing mascot. So I think that's super fun. That felt like if there was a Seth Rogen draft of this movie, that's kind of the tone we would get the entire time. And maybe want more. And
then later we see her, Elizabeth Banks, in there eating Krispy Kreme donut for they're trying a donut for the first time. You're right. It's a great joke that's just buried under all this crap. I feel like we had so many beefs in this, and I don't think we're wrong. I think this is kind of a crappy movie, but I also kind of enjoyed it. And I feel like there's stuff there that I feel like this is like really close to being something that's actually good. There are a couple like big script changes between this being like something that I would totally buy into.
I wish there was less of the Breakfast Club archetype, because I feel like that really limits where the characters can go. I wish they would have branched out of that and let the characters be a little bit more varied instead of the typical, you've got the jock, the smart one, this is like, because half the fun of a group of teenagers like this is you want to see the one that like, okay, you're this one and you're this one. And I know that can be troubling when you don't have a lot of representation, which this one has more of than previous iterations of Power Rangers. But it's fun to see yourself in a character. And when you've got two female Power Rangers who are pretty much indistinguishable most of the time. That's really frustrating. And Billy's the only one that really has like a strong personality and is like really fleshed out. And I just wish that each of them had that, so that you have really interesting characters that you're excited to see and interact with and see how they handle different situations. Also, we didn't really talk about this, but I wanted to talk about the campfire scene and how that really fell flat, because it was supposed to be this like good moment of everybody kind of relating and like kind of airing out what they're dealing with. And it was kind of like a last opportunity for them to get in who these characters are and what their struggles are, because despite the movie being 3/4 of the way over, we still don't know anything about them really. And they still waste it. It's like they get these like decent moments from Zach, and Billy's really supportive and stuff. And then you get the moment, the really good moment with, I forget her name, but the Yellow Ranger.
Trini.
And then it's like both Kimberly and Jason are just like, I'm not going to go. And I don't know if that's because the people making the movie thought like, well, we've already seen enough of them, but it's like, not really though. Like, we've seen too much of them, yes, but nothing of substance.
Oh my God.
And they don't know that. The other characters haven't seen those things. So it's like, how are they supposed to bond? It just was not a bonding moment, and it was supposed to be. So it was really frustrating.
The part with the Red Ranger is so funny, because when they're going around the campfire, Zach tosses it over to Jason and is like, okay, Jason, how about you? And Jason, the quarterback of the football team that was kicked off, goes, what more is there to say? You already know exactly who I am. And it's the perfect setup to a teen movie monologue where the quarterback is like, I'm supposed to be the all-star boy, right? The hero of the entire high school? Fat chance. I wish I could throw all that away, and I really want to be an artist, and like reveal the real thing. He means it. He just says, you already know exactly who I am, and we move on.
And I'm not sure I know who he is.
Exactly. I don't.
We watch a lot of movie of him before we see a shot of his leg brace that somehow he's been wearing the whole time. Did you catch that? He sits down on the bed and he had a leg brace. He had a leg brace in his house, and then on his bike to Billy's house, he's wearing a leg brace. So I think he was a star football player who got hurt, and because he got hurt, now he's acting out. But the dad talks to him like he got kicked off the team, and that because he did something wrong, he's not allowed to play. But then why has he got a leg brace on? Like, does he want to be an artist? Is he mad that he's not an athlete anymore? Now that he has superpowers, is he struggling with his identity now that he could play football and be the best, but morally it's wrong? There's so many things you could do to just make him interesting.
So the leg brace is from the car crash in the beginning of the movie. So he got kicked off the football team because of he and this other kid snuck a bull into the rival team's locker room. And then there's like a car crash when he's escaping the police.
Then why did he do the bull thing? Why is he doing the bull? Like, why is he lashing out then?
I think because he's a red-blooded American man who's just cut out to be a leader. Just exactly who we need leading our country.
Okay, now that we've recklessly speculated on what Jason's backstory is.
Let's move into the formal reckless speculations.
This is a fun one because they are clearly setting up a sequel. And I think it's kind of fun to speculate on what that might be. It's clearly Tommy. In their post-credit scenes, they allude to Tommy showing up. Rita's walking around with the green power crystal the whole time. So she gets smacked into space, I guess, which who knew the most powerful move in the entire Power Rangers franchise would be just a slap to the face. The Megazord slaps Rita into space, and then this green crystal is going to get to Tommy somehow. She's going to possess him, and we get that whole arc of like the Green Ranger showing up and terrorizing people. I don't know, man. That'd be super cool.
I could see it. Unfortunately, the sequels are all canceled. I don't know if it's kosher to comment on reckless speculation, but they originally had a 7-film story arc planned out.
Oh, that's so many.
It's a lot. Look, I can see us getting 7 Avatar movies, but 7 Power Ranger movies.
They thought this was going to be Transformers. I think that's like the best analogy And I don't know. I'm kind of bummed we don't get another one. I do think there's enough here that they could come out with another movie and it'd be awesome. Even with these actors, they could run it all back, flush some people out, come up with a new hook. They can introduce Tommy, who's going to carry the franchise for the next 6 movies. They can recast the lead in this, basically. And yeah, they could totally have a good movie, I think. Lauren, do you have any reckless speculation? I guess I was alluding to things I already know about in the TV show, but I guess coming at this movie without that backstory, what do you think happens to these guys?
I have a hope, and it's, again, I loved that scene with the Yellow Ranger and her brothers, and I hope that we get to see more of her home life, more than just her mom being like inexplicably erratic, and just like that, playing with that dynamic of like her family maybe being so close to it and not realize. It's kind of that Spider-Man thing where it's like her family is aware of the Power Rangers, and her brothers even are like really big fans of them, but like don't realize that they're living with one, and the one that they like the most. So, and it's like in the same breath, they're like, oh, I love the yellow Power Ranger. And then they're like, oh, go away. Like, stop being so annoying. You're my sister. Like, that is such a fun dynamic that would be fun to see played out more.
My reckless speculation. I was thinking, who do you get to be Tommy? Because we know that Tommy was the coolest human being possible in the 1990s. What does that look like in the 2020s and beyond? And I think the perfect casting choice to really nail that cool factor for Tommy, you can only go Tessa Thompson.
Oh, hell yeah.
Whoa.
Oh my God. I love that.
I think she would be the fucking best. Obviously, there's a little bit of an age gap, but
Too old is what I would. She's definitely older than these people. She's 37.
Maybe they go to college.
Maybe she's their cool RA.
Love, like, let's take this to college. Oh my gosh, how fun would that be? You know, move on from high school. If we're really going to be grittier, what's grittier than college? We've got red Solo cups. We've got it all. Like, oh, that would be so fun.
Oh my God. Can you picture, there's this like weird motif they keep doing throughout the entire movie where they're like passing notes in detention, but they're like ninja passing notes where they're just whipping this piece of paper at each other at like hundreds of miles an hour. Can you picture that kind of a scene, but they're all playing beer pong, just drinking games at a party together?
How fun would that be?
That'd be sweet. I mean, they could even do, without going like fully to college, they could do like a college weekend, and then a guy attacks them on a college weekend. So they're still high schoolers, but they're at a party, and then they have to save these kids that they're trying to talk themselves up to like a frat, but then they have to save the frat or sorority row. This monster.
Oh, I love that.
Well, they're still in high school.
That's fun.
Dude, guys, we should definitely do another pod where we just rewrite the Power Rangers.
We rewrite the first one. We write a sequel. We shop it around.
We could crush this. We could 100% crush this. I think that's it. That's a good note to end on. Lauren, thank you so much for joining us. You've been a great guest on our Power Ranger Week.
Me.
Was this a good thing? Was this a waste of time? Do you feel like you've gotten anything out of Power Ranger Week with Nerdy for 30?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I feel like a chapter, like a hole from my childhood has like finally been filled and closed, and I can truly move on. Like I recognize that I was correct and I would have loved this, and it is a bit of a missed opportunity, but I'm happy that I experienced it at all. So thank you.
Anytime. Kevin, you got anything you want to plug?
No plugs outside of the fact that this is a Mess Around Media show. Go ahead and check it out at messaroundmedia.com. Check out all the different Mess Around Media shows on whatever podcast platform you prefer. There's episodes going up every day of the week, so give them a listen. They're all good times.
They're all good times. I had a great time.
I did too. This was fun.
Me too.
Thanks for listening.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.